The Odyssey by Homer. Translated by Robert Fagles. Read by Mr. Belson. Book 22. Slaughter in the Hall. Now, stripping back his rags, Odysseus, master of craft and battle, vaulted onto the great threshold, gripping his bow and quiver, bristling arrows, and poured his flashing staffs before him, loose at his feet, and thundered out to all the suitors, "Look, your crucial test is finished, now, at last. But another target's left that no one's hit before. We'll see if I can hit it. Apollo, give me glory!" With that, he trained a stabbing arrow on Antinous, just lifting a gorgeous golden loving cup in his hands, just tilting the two-handled goblet back to his lips, about to drain the wine, and slaughter the last thing on the suitor's mind. Who could dream that one foe in that crowd of feasters, however great his power, would bring down death on himself and black doom? But Odysseus aimed and shot Antinous square in the throat, and the point went stabbing clean through the soft neck and out, and off to the side he pitched. The cup dropped from his grasp, and the shaft sank home, and the man's lifeblood came spurting from his nostrils, thick red jets. A sudden thrust of his foot, he kicked away the table, food showered across the floor, the bread and meat soaked in a swirl of bloody filth. The suitors burst into uproar all throughout the house when they saw their leader down. They leapt from their seats, milling about, desperate, scanning the stone walls. Not a shield in sight, no rugged spear to seize. They wheeled on Odysseus, lashing out in fury. "Stranger, shooting at men will cost your life. Your game is over. You've shot your last. You'll never escape your own headlong death. You killed the best in Ithaca, our fine prince. Vultures will eat your corpse." Groping, frantic, each one persuading himself the guest had killed the man by chance. Poor fools, blind to the fact that all their necks were in the noose, their doom sealed. With a dark look, the wily fighter Odysseus shouted back, "You dogs! You never imagined I'd return from Troy, so cocksure that you bled my house to death, ravished my serving women, wooed my wife behind my back while I was still alive. No fear of the gods who rule the skies up there, no fear that men's revenge might arrive some day. Now, all your necks are in the noose. Your doom is sealed." Terror gripped them all, blanched their faces white, each man glancing wildly, how to escape his instant death. Only Eurymachus had the breath to venture. "If you're truly Odysseus of Ithaca, home at last, you're right to accuse these men of what they've done. So much reckless outrage here in your palace, so much on your lands. But here he lies, quite dead, and he incited it all. Antinous, look, the man who drove us all to crime. Not that he needed marriage, craved it so. He'd bigger game in mind, though Zeus barred his way. He'd lorded over Ithaca, handsome country, king himself, once he'd lain in wait for your son and cut him down. But now he's received the death that he deserved. So spare your own people. Later we'll recoup your costs with a tax laid down upon the land, covering all we ate and drank inside your halls. And each of us here will pay full measure too. 20 oxen in value, bronze and gold, we'll give until we melt your heart. Before we've settled, who on earth could blame you for your rage?" But the battle master kept on glaring, seething. "No, Eurymachus, not if you paid me all your father's wealth, all you possess now, and all that you could pour in from the world's end. No, not even then would I stay my hands from slaughter till all you suitors had paid for all your crimes. Now life or death, your choice. Fight me or flee if you hope to escape your sudden, bloody doom. I doubt one man in the lot will save his skin." His menace shook their knees, their hearts too. But Eurymachus spoke again, now to the suitors. Friends, this man will never restrain his hands, invincible hands. Now that he sees that polished bow and quiver, look, he'll shoot from the sill until he's killed us all. So fight! Call up the joy of battle, swords out, tables lifted, block his arrows winging death. Charge him! Charge in a pack! Try to rout the man from the sill, the doors. Race through town and sound an alarm at once. Our friend would soon he sees shot his bolt. Brave talk. He drew his two-edged sword, bronze, honed for the kill, and hurled himself at the king with a raw, savage cry. In the same breath that Odysseus loosed an arrow, ripping his breast beside the nipples so hard it lodged in the man's liver. Out of his grasp the sword dropped to the ground. Over his table, head over heels, he tumbled, doubled up, flinging his food and his two-handled cup across the floor. He smashed the ground with his forehead, writhing in pain, both feet flailing out, and his high seat tottered. The mist of death came swirling down his eyes. Amphinomus rushed the king in all his glory, charging him face to face, a slashing sword drawn. If only he could force him clear of the doorway now. But Telemachus, too quick, stabbed the man from behind, plunging his bronze spear between the suitor's shoulders and straight on through his chest. The point came jutting out. Down he went with a thud. His forehead slammed the ground. Telemachus swerved aside, leaving his long spear shaft lodged in Amphinomus, fearing some suitor just might lunge in from behind as he tugged the shaft, impale him with a sword or hack him down, crouching over the corpse. He went on the run, reached his father at once, and halting right beside him, let fly, Father, now I'll get you a shield and a pair of spears, a helmet of solid bronze to fit your temples. I'll arm myself on the way back and hand out arms to the swineherd, arm the cowherd too. We'd better fight equipped. Run, fetch them, the wily captain urged, while I've got arrows left to defend me, or they'll force me from the doors while I fight on alone. Telemachus moved to his father's orders smartly. Off he ran to the room where the famous arms lay stored, took up 4 shields, 8 spears, 4 bronze helmets ridged with horsehair crests, and, loaded with these, ran back to reach his father's side in no time. The prince was first to case himself in bronze, and his servants followed suit, both harnessed up, and all 3 flanked Odysseus, mastermind of war, and he, as long as he'd arrows left to defend himself, kept picking suitors off in the palace, one by one, and down they went, corpse on corpse in droves. Then, when the royal archer's shaft ran out, he leaned his bow on a post of the massive doors, where walls of the hallway catch the light, and armed, across his shoulder he slung a buckler 4 plies thick. Over his powerful head he set a well-forged helmet, the horsehair crest atop it tossing, bristling terror, and grasped 2 rugged lances tipped with fiery bronze. Now the side door was fitted into the main wall, right at the edge of the great hall's stone sill, and led to a passage always shut by good tight boards. But Odysseus gave the swineherd strict commands to stand hard by the side door, guard it well. The only way the suitors might break out. Agelaus called to his comrades with a plan. Friends, can't someone climb through the hatch? Tell men outside to sound the alarm. Be quick. Our guest would soon see he'd shot his last.
The goatherd Melanthius answered, Not a chance, my lord. The door to the courtyard's much too near, dangerous too, the mouth of the passage cramped. One strong man could block us, one and all. No, I'll fetch you some armor to harness on out of the storeroom. There, nowhere else. I'm sure the king and his gallant son have stowed their arms. With that, the goatherd clambered up through smoke ducts high on the wall, and scurried into Odysseus's storeroom, bundled a dozen shields, as many spears and helmets ridged with horsehair crests, and, loaded with these, rushed back down to the suitors, quickly issued arms. Odysseus's knees shook, his heart too, when he saw them buckling on their armor, brandishing long spears. Here was a battle looming, well he knew. He turned at once to Telemachus, warnings flying. A bad break in the fight, my boy. One of the women's tipped the odds against us. Or could it be the goatherd? My fault, father, the cool, clear prince replied. The blame's all mine. That snug door to the vault, I left it ajar. They have kept a better watch than I. Go, Eumaeus, shut the door to the storeroom. Check and see if it's one of the women's tricks or Dolius, son's Melanthius. He's our man, I'd say. And even as they conspired, back the goatherd climbed to the room to fetch more burnished arms. But Eumaeus spotted him, quickly, told his king who stood close by. Odysseus, wily captain, there he goes again, the infernal nuisance. Just as we suspected, back to the storeroom. Give me a clear command. Do I kill the man, if I can take him down, or drag him back to you, here, to pay in full for the vicious work he's plotted in your house?
Odysseus, master of tactics, answered briskly, I and the prince will keep these brazen suitors crammed in the hall, for all their battle fury. You two wrench Melanthius's arms and legs behind him, fling him down in the storeroom, lash his back to a plank and strap a twisted cable fast to the scoundrel's body. Hoist him up a column until he hits the rafters. Let him dangle in agony, still alive, for a good long time. They hung on his orders, keen to do his will. Off they ran to the storeroom, unseen by him inside. Melanthius rummaging after arms deep in a dark recess as the two men took their stand, either side of the doorposts, poised till the goatherd tried to cross the door sill, one hand clutching a crested helmet, the other an ample old buckler blotched with mildew. The shield Laertes bore as a young soldier once, but there it lay for ages, seams on the handstraps split. Quick they rushed him, seized him, haled him back to the chair, flung him down on the floor, writhing with terror, bound him hand and foot with a chafing cord, wrenching his limbs back till the joints locked tight, just as Laertes' cunning son commanded. They strapped a twisted cable round his body, hoisted him up a column until he hit the rafters. Then you mocked him, Eumaeus, my good swineherd. Now stand guard through the whole night, Melanthius, stretched out on a soft bed fit for you, your highness. You're bound to see the morning rising up from the ocean, mounting her golden throne, at just the hour you always drive in goats to feast the suitors in the hall. So they left him, trust in his agonizing sling. They clapped on armor again, shut the gleaming doors, and ran to rejoin Odysseus, mastermind of war. And now, as the ranks squared off, breathing fury, four at the sill confronting a larger, stronger force arrayed inside the hall.